Status.
Chalo, good morning students, come fast. Today we are going to finish the remaining parts of the chapter, the sermon at Banaras. Okay, so before I proceed further, I just want to give you a quick glance on whatever we have learned so far. We learned that Gautam Buddha has finally given up his royal life, he has given up his luxuries of life, and he has set out on a journey to obtain enlightenment in his life. And under a peepal tree, he sat down and finally obtained enlightenment after 7 days of deep meditation. And when he became enlightened, he has started preaching his disciples, he has started giving lectures based on religion to his disciples, what exactly life is, what are the terms of life, how to live a life, what are the ways to be adopted to live a very balanced life. So these are the things that Gautam Buddha, the founder of the Buddhism religion, taught to his disciples. Now here in this chapter, a story occurs in the mid, and Kisa Gotami, as you saw, is a lady whose only son has died. Kisa Gotami is looking forward to bring his son back to the life, which is practically impossible. He goes from one door to another, he contacts one person to another. Finally, a person advises Kisa Gotami to contact a physician, Sakya Muni, Gautam Buddha. When Kisa Gotami contacted Gautam Buddha, he simply asked her to bring a handful of mustard from the house where not a single person has died yet. Kisa Gotami started moving from one house to the other. Everybody was in a state of amusement. What kind of requirement is this? A handful of mustard seed. But finally, one family gave her a handful of mustard seed. But when Kisa Gotami asked if there had any death taken place in the family, the member of the family replied in a very interesting manner and in a very shocking manner, which was very much shocking to Kisa Gotami, that don't remind us about the number of people who have left this planet in our family. The number of living people in this family is less, and the number of people who have left to the heavenly abodes are very high. And the member of the family asked Kisa Gotami not to remind her of the of the loss of the beloved ones. Now, what exactly happens from here? Let's look into that. So Kisa Gotami became weary and hopeless and sat down at the wayside, watching the lights of the city as they flickered up and were extinguished again. So finally, Kisa Gotami is in a state of sorrow because she failed to find a single house where she could obtain a handful of mustard seed in which there had no death taken place. No, she failed to find any such house. So finally, she became hopeless. She became weary. Weary means exhausted, tired. She was extremely tired, and she had lost all his hope of getting a handful of mustard seed from the house where there had no death taken place. So she sat on the wayside, on some other side of the street, and started watching the lights of the tree flickering and extinguishing. Light, when lights flicker, they symbolize the alive state of the human being or the happy state of the human being. And when the light extinguishes, it symbolizes the death of a human being. So Kisa Gotami saw that the lights on the wayside of the street, on the side street, the street lights were flickering. It were showing light, and all of a sudden it extinguished. It showed light, all of a sudden it extinguished. Then Kisa Gotami realized something. What did she realize? At last, the darkness of the night reigned everywhere. When the flickering of the light finally stopped. There was darkness all around in the atmosphere. And she considered the fate of men, that their lives flicker up and are extinguished again. So beholding at the flickering of the light, she could figure out the way the street lights flicker. Sometimes they display light, sometimes they flicker, sometimes they show light, and sometimes all of a sudden they extinguish. This way she understood exactly the life of a human being is channelized the way light is flickering. Life has to come and life has to end also. This is what exactly is there in the fate of the human being. This is something inevitable, you cannot avoid this. And she considered the fate of men, that their lives flicker up and are extinguished again, and she thought to herself, how selfish am I in my grief. Now she has a feeling of repentance, she has a feeling of grief. She considers herself to be a selfish woman. Why? Because up till now, she had no clue, she had no idea what exactly life is. She only knew that life is made to live. But looking at the other side of the coin, she got to understand that if living state is there with the human beings, there is also the death state of the human beings that the human beings have to adopt. This is inevitable. So she has a feeling of remorse. She has a feeling of selfishness. She has a feeling of grief. I'm a selfish woman. She thinks that death is common to all, which is true. Death is common to all. Every human being or everything, not only human being, everything that has come on this planet has to destroy, has to decimate, has to wither away, has to end at a particular point of time in life. And so the rule applies to the human beings also. Yet in this valley of desolation, there is a path that leads him to immortality, who has surrendered all selfishness. And now she considers, she has a feeling that death is common to all. One cannot avoid death. Now, in order to gain immortality, one has to surrender all his selfishness. The kind of selfish attitude, the kind of selfish notion a human being possesses, if a man wants to achieve immortality, he or she will have to give up all his selfish thoughts, selfish acts, selfish notions, selfish activities, selfish behavior. These are the things that take a human being to, to a different zone where a human being does not find anything. But if a human being has to achieve immortality, he or she will have to give up selfishness, and a man has to become selfless in attitude. So the Buddha said, the life of mortal. Now Kisa Gotami finally goes to Gautam Buddha when she saw the flickering and extinguishing of the light, and she got some understanding about life, that death is common to all. Finally she goes to Gautam Buddha. Now what Gautam Buddha suggests her, what Gautam Buddha sermons her, what Gautam Buddha preaches her, applies to Kisa Gotami, a lady like Kisa Gotami as well as us human beings. What did Gautam Buddha say? Gautam Buddha said, the life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain. This is a very important line. Underline it. I'm going to write it over here. आप अपने कॉपी में underline it. The life of mortals in this world, the life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain. It's a very important sermon, very important line. I'm putting it into inverted comma is the most important point of the chapter. Gautam Buddha told Kisa Gautami that the life of mortals in this world is troubled and brave and combined with pain. Mortals means something that has to destroy. Mortals here means human beings. Human beings are of mortal natures, na? So the life of human beings in this world is troubled. Of course, every human being is suffering with some problem or the other in this on this planet in his life. The life of the mortals in this world is brief. We consider our life to be larger, longer, stretchful. But beholding at the human, evolution, beholding at the human history, we find our lives very brief. Okay, and the third important point, that life which is troubled and brief, both these things are combined with pain. There is pain in life, something that does not go your way, something that does not fulfill your dreams, something that obstructs your dreams, something that takes you into the world of failure, something that does not let you achieve what you want to achieve, something that is unnecessarily disturbing you. I mean, you are in a state of pain. You feel pained inside your heart. You get disturbed. So, Gautam Buddha made Kisa Gautami realize that the life of mortals in this world is troubled. Every human being has a trouble. Every human. At least one trouble every human being has. The life of a human being is brief. It's not very long. No one is going to live for thousands of years. But the history of human civilization has been going on from a very longer period of time beyond calculation, and the life is a combination of brief and troubled with pain. Life is painful. Whose life is painful here? Gautam Buddha's life, or the life of that sick man, the life of that aged man, the life of those who were beholding the pyre burning, or the life of the monk, or the life of Kisa Gautami? All of these, except Gautam Buddha. Gautam Buddha's life was also painful. How? How Gautam Buddha's life was painful? Because before attaining enlightenment in his life, he happened to be a prince. He belonged to a royal family. There he didn't have any clue, any idea of what exactly the pain of the human beings is. But the moment he encountered 4 different views, he had a feeling of pain in his heart. He realized that every human being is troubled some way or other. The life of every human being is brief, and the life of every human being is a combination of trouble, brief, and with pain. So this is the teaching that he gave. He also gave some further sermons. For there is not any means by which those that have born can avoid dying. There is no such scientific or spiritual or any other way by which all of this, correct, all of this, okay. For there is not any means by which those that have been born can avoid dying. There is no way, there is no particular way, scientific way, spiritual way, or any other way available on this planet through which you can avoid death. No one has obtained the state of immortality. Every human being, every animal, every species, every plant, everything is mortal. I mean, it has to destroy at some particular point of time. It has to wither away, it has to die. After reaching old age, there is death. A time comes in life when you have to embrace death, when you will have to hug death, or the death will hug you. The death will take you into its lap. The death will take you into its clutch. Of such a nature are living beings, and this is the nature of the living beings. This is the nature of the human beings. I mean, every living being, be it human or animal or any other any other living thing. This is what happens to any other living being. What happens? Death. As ripe fruits are early in danger of falling, it's very important. इसको आप underline कर लीजिए. ये आपको ये सिमली के रूप में आपको समझाया गया है 2 अलग अलग चीज़ों को. As ripe fruits are early in danger of falling, so mortals when born are always in danger of death. A fruit that bloomed, that took a shape, that came out, it has to ripe one day, and the day the fruit will be ripened, it has to fall down. Either someone will pluck it or it will fall down. Similar condition, similar state is there with the human being also. That life at a certain point of time, when a person becomes older, aged in his life, he has to move away from this planet. Basically, Gautam Buddha is trying his level best to convince, to make Kisa Gotami understand that she should not express sorrow, she should not take it mentally, too deep mentally, that her only son had left the planet. There is no benefit, you are going to gain nothing. You are going to achieve nothing by lamenting, by expressing your sorrow, by weeping, just because your son or your daughter or your kinsman or your closest one, beloved, has left this planet. Because this is the way the ordinance of the nature is. This is the way the law of the nature is. That every human being has to confront with death at some point of time in his life. It is invalid, it is futile, it is in vain to hug the sorrow state of life, or to adopt the sorrow state of life. Now he gives the first example he gave was of ripe fruits that are bound to fall down on the earth when they are ripe. The second example he gives of earthen vessels, the potters make earthen vessel. He mentions that as all earthen vessels made by the potter end in being broken, so is the life of mortals. There is no earthen vessel made by any potter that remain forever. Every earthen vessel, हर मिट्टी का बना हुआ चीज जो कुम्हार बनाता है, it has to destroy, it has to break at one point of time. And similar thing happens with the human beings also. It has also the human beings, they also have to break, they also have to wither away. Both young and adult, both those who are fools and those who are wise, all fall into the power of death, all are subject to death. Now he is trying to make Kisa Gotami realize that death keeps no discrimination, death keeps no bhedbhav. Death is clutched death is something that attacks to fools as well as wise men. Death keeps no calendar, death keeps no discrimination. It attacks, every single human being of any nature, of any quality, of any significance, of any acquaintance, of any recognition. Very good example सुन, ये जो examples है ना, इसको underline कर लेना. अभी ये बताओ, have you understood whatever I have taught you so far? Have you understood whatever I have taught you so far? He is trying to, Gautam Buddha is trying to make Kisa Gotami realize that something that has fallen on her, is she is not the unique person. She is not the only one with whom death has taken place. She already has witnessed that she could not find a single house in which there was no death taken place. I hope it must be clear to you. Huh? Yes, sir. Okay, very good. So he says that both young and adults, both fools and fools and wise, they all fall into the power of death. Death strikes, death can strike a young person also, death can strike an adult person also, death can strike a foolish man also, death can strike the wisest man on this planet also. All are subject to death. All have to confront with death. All have to accompany death to move out of this planet. Of those who overcome by death, now Gautam Buddha is also trying to look at the other side of the coin. The first side of the coin is that death is inevitable. It has a nature of striking to every single human being, every living thing. Now, what is the second side of the coin? What is the second argument? The second argument he puts is, of those who overcome by death depart from life. A father cannot save his son, nor kinsmen the relations. He mentions that those who are overcome by death, overcome means controlled, overcome means controlled. Those who are controlled by death, of course, everyone is controlled by death at some point of time in his life. So, he is again trying to justify that death is inevitable. A father cannot save his life from death, nor a kinsman. Kinsman means relatives, the nearest, closest relatives who love you very much, who are very much close to you. So the nearest and dearest relatives also cannot save the life of a human being, nor can a father save the life of his son. Mark means pay attention. Mark means pay attention. Mark, while relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply, one by one mortals are carried off like an ox that is led to a slaughter. जिस तरीके से एक बैल को स्लॉटर करने के लिए ले जाया जाता है स्लॉटर हाउस में, उसे काटने के लिए बैल को चॉप के हेड को चॉप करने के लिए स्लॉटर हाउस में ले जाया जाता है. Similarly, a human being is taken into the world of death. Therefore, the wise do not grieve, knowing the terms of the world. So, those who have attained enlightenment, those who understand the terms of the world, the terms of the nature, the condition of being in a state of alive, they understand that death is inevitable. Wise men, but foolish people understand that death. They cannot be affected by death. Now he says, how can you control yourself? How a human being can control himself or herself when death arises, and how a human being can prepare himself in order to confront death. How a human being can prepare himself before the death strikes his nearest or beloved one. He suggests some ideas. Not from weeping, not from grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. On the contrary, his pain will be greater and his body will suffer. He says that when human beings die, his nearest kinsmen, close relatives, his family members, his son, daughter, husband, wife, they all started lamenting. Lamenting means expressing sorrow. They all start weeping for the loss of their beloved one. But lamenting, wailing, weeping, remorsing, these are the things that are not going to cool you down. These are the things that will increase your anxiety. These are the things that will increase your sorrow. It's not that when someone dies, you start laughing. No, it's not that. But do not try to be too much emotionally attached just because the person has left to the heavenly abode. So he will make himself sick and pale. अगर एक इंसान ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा रोता है, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा दुख व्यतीत करता है, तो वो sick हो जाएगा और वो और pale हो जाएगा, उदास हो जाएगा. Yet the dead are not saved by his lamentation. और एक इंसान के कुछ लोगों के रोने की वजह से एक मुर्दा इंसान जिंदा खड़ा होकर के नहीं आ सकता है, यानी कि वो फिर alive नहीं हो सकता है. He who seeks peace should draw out the air of lamentation. Air of lamentation means expression of sorrow. जो दिल में lamentation है, sorrow है, दुख है, उसको बाहर निकाल के फेंक दो. Then you will attain the peace of mind. Then you will shift yourself into the world of peace. And as composed will obtain peace of mind. Composed means cool, calm. Person who is cool, calm, composed, and the person who has, thrown away the sense of lamentation, the sense of sorrow, grief from his mind, from his body, from his soul, from his heart, will finally obtain peace in his life. He who has overcome all sorrow will become free from sorrow and be blessed. And he finally suggests that what the person who has overcome, who has controlled sorrow, who has controlled lamentation, who has control on his nervous system not to express too much of sorrow or indulge in the well of sorrow, express too much of lamentation, he will finally obtain a peace of mind. Even his nearest or dearest one departs from this planet. So this way, in this particular chapter, the sermon at Banaras ends. It's a very interesting chapter. पूरे चैप्टर को फिर से एक बार पढ़ना, मैं बता रहा हूँ 8 नंबर का, नहीं 8 का तो नहीं, 4 का, ठीक है, नहीं 2 नंबर का एक्सट्रैक्ट बेस्ड भी क्वेश्चन तुमको आ सकता है. 99.9% चांस है कि इस चैप्टर से क्वेश्चन आएगा, क्योंकि इट्स अ प्रीचिंग काइंड ऑफ चैप्टर. दिस चैप्टर helps you learn the moral values of life and how to deal with and how to cope with the odd situations in life. पूरे चैप्टर को लाइन बाय लाइन पढ़ोगे, वर्ड्स के मीनिंग को अंडरस्टैंड करोगे, क्वेश्चन आंसर बनाओगे. ठीक है, चलो.